the recording to start. So there we go. All right, welcome everyone to the July meeting for the Clark County Amateur Radio Club. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for coming. I am seeing more people joining that it looks like they're using names that indicate it might be groups of people. So that's kind of interesting. So again, welcome and thanks for coming. And if you are a new member or if you haven't tried this in the past, a couple of things to look for and also to show some appreciation for are the people who are helping out and participating with IWARN and the Clark County Aries group. So normally in our in-person meetings, we would be recognizing visitors, new hams, new club members, license upgrades, certifications, and award additions. It's a little more difficult with the online edition. However, there are still options. So if you could, if you receive any of these things, just email Jeff at vprez@w7aia.org or myself at prez@w7aia.org, and we will make sure that you get recognition for that. And this month, I'm extremely excited to say that I did get a notification from someone. Gordon Sievers, KJ7KSI, did get his Amateur Extra license, so it was a license upgrade. So congratulations to Gordon, and I really appreciate him reaching out and letting me know that this happened too. And if anyone is wondering, how did this happen while we're dealing with all of the things that we are currently dealing with, he let me know that he did the online testing with the Greater Los Angeles Amateur Radio Group with their VEC option. If you're interested in pursuing this option, you can go check it out at https://theglaarg.org. And by the way, all of these, if you're not aware of it, all of these online meetings have been recorded, and they're generally listed on the club website under the meetings. And then if you go to the top section of meetings, there is a location where it says to view the videos made of the virtual general meetings, click here, and that will take you to YouTube. And so you can always review those later if like some of these slides have a lot of information in them. If you didn't quite get all the information, that's an option to kind of go back and review things. Okay, so as far as announcements go, our next 90th celebration event is going to be the Salmon Run operating event. And we will, once again, similar to the special station event that was set up in May, be able to operate as W7AIA, and that will be occurring during the Salmon Run, which will be September 19th to September 20th. There's more information available at that website, which is shown at the bottom there. Okay, the next operating event that's coming up is actually going to be July, or at least the ARRL event. It's going to be July 11th through, well, that's July 11th to July 12th. I missed changing that name there, so apologies there. And that is, all of that information is again listed. And however, if you're interested in finding more events, you can also look for, if you go to the ARRL website and just do a search for contests, it does have everything kind of listed there for you as well. Okay, so just kind of an update. So some of the things that we've been doing as a club, obviously, is we've done some of the online. We've had to change our meetings to the online option, and you know, kind of as we've been trying this over the last 3 months, we've gotten some feedback about some connection issues, some some difficulties with the meetings, attending the meetings, and so we've kind of decided that we're going to kind of research and see if we can explore the feasibility of some other options. And so while we are doing that, we just kind of want to let you know that we are kind of hearing concerns, and we are trying to find other options to see if they will work out better for us. And you know, at any time, if anybody has any ideas, or if you as a member have in particular had trouble getting into our online meetings or anything, feel free to reach out. Let me know. Because we don't have the in-person meetings, it is much more important that you be willing to reach out and send an email to me. That is probably the best way to get a hold of me. And again, that is the pres@w7aia.org is probably the easiest way. But so we are kind of looking for other options, seeing if that's something that we think will work. One of the important things, the most important thing really, is that it needs to be something that will work for everyone, and so we don't want it to be tied to any particular thing that will make it difficult for. I mean, obviously everyone needs to have a computer, but don't really want it to be computer-specific sort of thing. So that's kind of an update. And I mentioned this last meeting as well, and I think it's in the rocking chair as well. But because of the Phase B opening plan, we did cancel the picnic for August, unfortunately. But in replacement of that, we will still have an online meeting. So that is scheduled right now for Friday, August 7th at 7. Okay, and just because of the DX convention that was originally scheduled is coming up in August as well, and just kind of an FYI that has been canceled. However, at this time, the 2021 convention is scheduled to take place in Portland, so something to look forward to. As far as things or ways that you might be willing or able to help out with the club, we're currently looking for presenters. It's a good way to kind of help out our organization and to share your experience and to try new things as well. We are looking for 1 or 2 presenters, basically talking about HF antennas, and there is a theme this year of kind of supporting hams in smaller restricted spaces, and so that's kind of what the scenario there is we're kind of looking at HF antennas and how they would work for someone, for example, in a second floor apartment. They would still have a deck, but overlooking the parking lot. So just kind of some of the things that may affect antenna choices and the ability to do different things with that. And then that would be for August. Along with that, looking to continue on with more information on antennas, both homemade and commercially available options for October. So if you are interested in either one of those, or if you'd like to have more information, please contact Jeff Hildebrand, N7TCV at n7tcv@arrl.net. Okay, we are also still looking for someone to step forward to take on leadership opportunity. This is something that really helps out our organization, and the more that our members kind of participate in stepping forward and doing certain things, I think the more you get out of being a member of the club. It's kind of the more you give, the more you get, sort of thing. So I think it would be really something that you should consider, even if you don't think that you may have some of the skills. I would definitely reach out and talk with Barbara about that. And I'm sure that there are things that you would be surprised as to what you would be able to do if you're willing to step forward. You can contact her at ac7uh@arrl.net. Okay, along with the secretary, we're also looking for more help with the equipment sales, and this is generally when equipment is donated to our club, and kind of processing that through and getting that sold back out to other people or even our internal members as well. It would be another great opportunity and a way to help out. And also the nice thing about this one as well is I think you get a lot more experience just seeing different equipment and kind of the options that could kind of change things, the way you approach radio. And if you're interested in that, I would contact Marilyn Melhorn, AF7MM, at af7mm19@gmail.com. Okay, Gary.
Am I on the air?
You are.
Okay. Talk a little bit about CPAC. CPAC is one of the sponsoring organizations, or this club is one of the two organizations that sponsor CPAC, and so we're heavily involved with it. And this design you see on top of this slide is actually the design for the newsletter that we send out periodically via email to the several thousand folks that have an account that we send it to, info@cpac.org. But Greg Schuster designed it, and monthly we're going to be having this slide with different information on it. And go over the points. The CPAC Executive Committee did meet. We did talk about closing out 2020, which basically is paying some bills that we incurred even though there wasn't an event. And we talked about CPAC 2021. And I don't have a crystal ball to know what the conditions and circumstances are going to be for 2021. But until then, we're just moving on as though we're going to have a live event. We're going to start planning it in September and go like we did last year until something happens to turn it off. The old damn and torpedoes, full speed ahead approach. The CPAC theme for 2021 is going to be out of darkness into the light. And this has two aspects to it. Hopefully we'll be out of the darkness of the COVID-19 issue and into the light of day to where some semblance of normalcy is established. And the other part of that, too, out of darkness into the light, is propagation opens up. So we kind of come out of the darkness of low to no propagation into the light of happy, healthy propagation so we can all make more contacts. Next item deals with the chairman and vice chairman for CPAC. As I mentioned before, it alternates between the Beaverton Club and our club as to who's the chairman and the vice chairman. And Greg Schuster from this organization has stepped up to be the vice chairman for 2021, and it'll follow on with him being the chairman in 2022. So thank you, Greg, for doing that. It means a lot to the club and the CPAC to have somebody of your caliber up there at the helm. CPAC is in need of some committee coordinators. Exhibitor hospitality, this is an area that Vanessa from our club has done for a few years, and this has to do with taking care of our exhibitors in terms of providing them a lunch and also coffee when they need it, because they're stuck in their booth, and they appreciate the hospitality that CPAC gives. So we're looking for someone to take over from Vanessa for 2021. We're looking for a social media person, somebody that's familiar with Instagram and Facebook, to manage those accounts for us for the for the event. And so if you're interested in either one of those, let I know. We're also interested in assistant coordinators for CPAC, social media, hospitality, and also banquet and luncheons. We serve several. We have the big banquet on Saturday night, and we have luncheons for DX and YLs on Saturday, and those luncheons and that banquet need to be coordinated. Also, exhibitors set up and tear down. That's pretty important when the stuff comes in on Friday to be set up, and then on Sunday to tear it down to ship it back to the exhibitors. So if you're interested in volunteering for these positions, you can contact me or send an email to volunteers@cpac.org, and we'll we'll see if we can marry you up with a committee that you're interested in. And that would be all I have, and so back to you, Steve.
All right, thanks, Gary. And then just kind of a follow-up on that, too. I think that Greg will be stepping forward. It's effective August 31st, and Gary will be stepping down at that time when the other club takes over the chair position for 2021, or the 2020 to 2021 year, anyway. Okay, so as far as some additional options, I've kind of had this slide last couple months, but I do think it's an important thing to remember, and again, geared towards new members as well. If you are interested in practicing your skills more, which I think in this time of segregation, reaching out is probably a really good thing to do if you can. So a couple of the options are the IWARNet Thursdays, and that's 7 p.m. weekly, and the Friday Roundtable, which is Fridays at 7 p.m. weekly. And that's the roundtable. That's every week, except with the exception of the roundtable, which does not happen on the general meeting nights. However, that is on the club repeaters, 147.240 or 443.125 with the offset of the 94.8. If you have any questions on how to get on that or how to set up your radio, you can always contact me, and I can direct you to the right person. And again, to contact me, that's prez@w7aia.org. Okay, so over to Dave. Do I need to share the, or
stop sharing? Make it easier.
Okay. I have stopped sharing.
So does everybody see my slides?
I am seeing the Field Day 2020.
All right, that sounds good.
Looks like I see your whole screen. I don't know if that's what you intend or not.
Do you just see the slideshow or the whole?
Your whole screen. I see your desktop and everything.
Okay, let me get it fixed.
If you just start from beginning in the top left corner, I think that's what you need to do.
Okay, now you should see the whole screen Field Day. Sorry about that, folks. I hit the wrong button. So, actually, before we get started with the Field Day stuff, I'm just going to take a quick short tour and show you, well, let's start with the Field Day log. First of all, if you're having any problems at all getting your Field Day log to be submitted, you can reach any of the mentors within the club, myself or Rick or Tim, or any of the people that are knowledgeable with the N1MM and the submission process, and we can walk you through it. I've already helped a number of people with their logging problems, and it's easy enough to affiliate with the club. When you type the word in Clark, a pop-up will come, and you'll see this Clark County ARC Washington 12. You select that one, and you'll affiliate your score with the club. So if you did Field Day on your own and you want to contribute to the club's overall score, please do that. If you have any questions or problems, you can email me or call. A lot of you hear about our storage unit. I took a few snapshots the other day when I was there just to show you what we have in the way of club resources all stashed away. If we start on the right-hand side of the screen, you have the we have the shelving in there with all the club radios, and still have the G Creek stuff and the pop-up tents. You can see the at the very top up there are the monkey huts, and you can see here's all the plywood and the trash cans and all our hard hats for field day. In the other storage unit, we have all of the surplus equipment and all the stuff that's for the club. We have audio systems, a radio for special events, and all the surplus sales stuff sitting on the shelves. You can see the shelves are pretty full, so look at the surplus sales stuff so we can get rid of some more of that stuff. Okay, I'm going to start, and this is an experiment, so you people need to be patient with me. I have a little video here I shot and tried to edit together of the field day site so you could all see what it was like. So here we go, and let's hope it plays. There we go. So this is a solar panel for charging batteries. You can see the charge controller and the batteries underneath. As we turn and take a look, here is the main HF beam. Off the HF beam, there are two dipoles strung off the tower, one for 40 meters, one for 80 meters. The tower trailer is a homebrew 30-foot tower, and it cranks up once it's all assembled. Here we have the VHF stack. It has 6 meters, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and a dual band vertical connected to the top to do packet and FM repeater frequencies. Down below, the satellite antennas have azimuth and elevation rotors. They can be aimed at the satellites as they pass overhead. Typical satellite passes are from 9 to 20 minutes. The low orbit satellites are about 250 miles above the Earth. This is the VHF station. The rig on the left is for satellite. You can see the satellite tracking program is on the laptop right now. The elevation azimuth rotor control, and then a packet and FM operation station. This is the 40-meter station, and it will also double as the 80-meter station. You can see we have a wireless interface set up so that all the laptops are connected to a network, and they share everybody's log entries. So it's a highly redundant logging, and we're using N1MN. This also acts as the 80-meter station. This is the 20-meter station. Again, we're networked up. Operate CW, voice, and RIDI. In addition, we have them set up to operate FT8 as well. So I hope you could all see that, a little experiment there. Well, let's get right to the heart of things. These are the QSO totals by band and mode that we operated. This is probably the lowest QSO total that we've had in recent history. The equipment setup went flawlessly, but for whatever reason, we were just unable to get some good runs going. You'll notice that we did a lot of FM 2-meter contacts, 43 of them, and just a couple of 440 FM contacts, if any. We did 28 satellite contacts, and we did a lot of RIDI and CW as compared to previous years. So one of the take-home things we can take away from this field day is even though our QSO totals are much lower than we would like them to be, we were much more proficient at having a well-rounded set of operating modes represented in the field day this year. And it was really nice to see the RIDI and the CW operated with the N1MM without much trouble. So, very critical review. The setup was very good. The stations were capable of doing multiple modes. It was easy. The physical setup probably took us less than 3 hours. We were going to try to be lazy and use one of Tim's generators, but it had a fair amount of RFI noise, so we swapped it out for a Honda. The noise level on 40 meters made it very difficult to operate. Normally 40 meters is your bread and butter band on a field day. And I have to tell you, I was on the air for an hour and a half when what should have been prime time on 40, and I only made 20 contacts. So that was really disappointing. And I don't know how much of it is band conditions and how much of it was just our particular environment. We missed some good band openings. They were delayed, and so we couldn't take advantage of them. And the good news is all the stations were occupied throughout field day. So we had people manning the stations and doing what they should, and so that part was very rewarding. A little bit about the summary submitted to the ARRL. This shows you the call sign we used. We were Western Washington 2 Alpha. There were actually 12 participants that were at the field day site. Clark County was our club affiliation. We did generator and solar, and our preliminary total was about 1,756 points. And this is how it broke down. So on the bonus points, we did pretty good. We had 850 bonus points. We could have gotten a little bit more. We should have sent out some press releases, but with all the uncertainty with regard to that, we did do something pretty clever. We had one of our served agencies visited by a Skype, so we did a video tour with the people at Cressa, and so they were able to see the field day site even though they didn't physically come. They visited our site, and we were a little creative. We did a couple last-minute things to try to get one of our elected officials to do that, but it was just a little too last-minute to pull it off. So we did our 5 solar QSOs. The batteries were used to operate the satellite station, and we did a lot of radiograms. They sent out a lot of messages. We received quite a few messages from the various people around the area, and we also did the section manager message. This is the QSO breakdown, phone and satellite and digital, all counted up, and so we had about 906 points associated with the actual QSOs associated with the field day. So, just to give you a little look, here's Rick being very diligent, working the 20-meter station. Trevor and Tim trying to get some QSOs running on the 40-meter station. And you can see that everybody except the operator was wearing face masks, and we did social distancing. You can see the sanitary wipes there, and there was all sorts of precautions taken when we went from one operator to another. This shows us putting together the tri-band beam, getting it up on the ladder there, so we're getting ready to crank it up. This shows it cranking up. The rig here, Trevor is providing the muscle for that. You can see Tim's antenna in the background and the VHF stack over here on the right. We did a lot of checking. We found one of the club's real nice 150-foot cables. We could actually twist the connector on the end. It wasn't soldered on the shield, so we had to cut those off and replace them. But we do this checking. You'll notice all the face masks and stuff. So it was we were practicing all our best practices for the field day. And of course, we didn't catch everything before we cranked up the tower. There was a locking bolt that Tim had put in the tower to keep the post from turning when he did the parade. And we forgot to unlock it before we lifted the tower up. So we had to go up the tower and loosen the bolt a little bit so we could get it running again. So we had a great setup, great operators. All the stations were covered for the full field day. The noise environment and the delayed band openings really killed our QSO count. We're trying to understand a little bit of what exactly it was. I would have just said it was propagation. We just didn't get a good window, but I've looked at some of the other scores from the local hams. Phil was so frustrated after working CW half the night. He went home, got on the rig at home, and made 172 QSOs. So that tells you he was burning it up when he got home. So we need to understand what was happening so we can do a little better. We got a lot of bonus points. We could have gotten a little more with a little better planning. And remember, again, if you operated at home and you turn in your score, no matter how small, it really all adds up. So appreciated everyone's support for Field Day. And with that, I'll entertain any questions. People have questions about the setup or what we did.
Dave, it's Wayne.
Yes, go ahead, Wayne.
When I submitted my scores, I didn't see in the drop down that there was a WA12. I just saw the Clark County, Washington. Does that make a difference?
Nope, shouldn't make a difference. You should have picked the right one. I don't know. Maybe that was a count of how many people had submitted. I didn't know. When I first looked at it, we weren't even listed, so that was nice to see it there. So.
Okay. Well, I guess I won't have to resubmit it then.
No, yeah, you shouldn't have to resubmit. I will do some follow-up this week. We have about a month to straighten things out, and I will do some follow-up to make sure things are looking good.
Just one more comment. I did work at a station that had 10 setups. It was a 10 alpha.
Yeah. We worked one that was 14F. I do not know how they did that with all the social distancing and the requirements. It was tough enough just having 5 people on site all the time and making sure we followed all the rules. So
you guys did a good job. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Dave, this is Gary.
Yes, Terry.
If I understand it right, the scores that you presented this evening, of course, don't include the individual score club affiliations. Do you have any idea when we'll get the total final score of what we did here locally plus those affiliations?
When they're done?
Not until December, when the results come out in the magazine, is what I've been led to believe.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Dave, Phil, we didn't get any points for the field day message?
Yeah, we did.
I didn't see it on there.
I'll have to go back and double check. Thanks for noticing, Phil. I'll double check that and make sure it's there.
Actually, isn't it the format message to ARRL section manager?
No. That's the field day bulletin is not on the list. That's what I'll have to check.
That's what he said. Okay.
Yep. I'll have to check, Phil. I know I have the proof. I thought I uploaded the PDF. I'll have to check.
Thank you.
Thanks for catching that. Anything else, folks? All right, then. With that, I guess we'll turn the presenter over to Jeff. Give me just a second.
Let's see how this all works. Oh. Okay. Oh, can you see this?
I can see your video now.
Oh, good deal. Good deal. Good deal. Okay.
But hold on. If you're going to slow, I need to make you the presenter for you to show stuff.
Okay.
So give me just a second here. Okay. Okay, you should be getting a message in just a moment that asks if you want to be the presenter.
I've been nominated. Let's see. And I click what I want to display then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you seeing anything?
Yes, we're seeing a radio station for an apartment or condo.
Oh, oops. Come on, stupid machine. There we go. Okay, here we go. And here's my little radio station. I have put it in a rigid toolbox. And what this will be, hopefully, is the first in a series of discussions about how we do ham radio in small living spaces. And in August, we'll have Greg discuss his radio in a box, and hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll have Gary discuss his, but Gary's going to be out of town next week. But a little bit later, I'll show you previews of those two projects. And in October, we're going to hopefully be planning on showing some practical antenna solutions. And yes.
Just FYI, you're showing your whole PowerPoint. You're not actually showing the slides. Is that what you intended to do?
What do you mean I'm not showing the slides?
Well, I see the slide in your application, but the slide isn't full screen.
Okay.
You're not in slideshow mode. You're in...
I know. It's supposed to be in slideshow mode. Okay. From the beginning?
There you go.
Now can you see it all?
Perfect.
That looks good.
Okay. So in August, Greg will be discussing his box, and we're also going to have a discussion for part of that hour on the technical aspects of antennas in a constrained environment. Hence, we need a presenter for that. It'll be a pretty technical talk about what to do when you're in a real suboptimal environment. And in October, hopefully, we'll start being able to show some practical, either commercially made or homemade antenna solutions. Okay. Now, why I got into this? Now, this, it's kind of an obscure little problem, I think, but why I got into it is I started traveling the U.S. in an RV after I retired. And in Rochester, Minnesota, I passed my license. As I passed through Atlanta, I picked up a FT857 and a screwdriver and just ready to go. Well, it didn't go so well. And one of the things that I had trouble with in an RV is actually finding good spaces to install a radio. And the antenna is a whole different topic, but I found that, if you had a radio and you mounted it someplace that wasn't very comfortable, if you took it out and you put it on a picnic table, you had all these components spread all over the place. So essentially, what you would have if you lived in a small space. And it's not very conducive to being a ham radio operator. You need something that you can, pick up, set up quickly, operate with, and then put away. So I wish I'd had this box, this idea, and how to build this box when I was in the RV. So anyway, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through an introduction of some sorts, review some of the design parameters that need to be met, do a demonstration, and talk a little bit about how I constructed this. And I'll belabor the construction a little bit because what I'm hoping to do is somebody can tune in that needs some information on how to build a ham shack in a box. And what you see on the internet, you always see these finished projects, and they always look beautiful. But there's oftentimes very little discussion of how they actually went around and built this thing. So I want somebody that just tunes into our website to say, oh, I can build this, and this is how we did it. Good, bad, or indifferent. So let's see. There you go. So, and I believe ham radio has a membership issue. And it needs to be addressed for it to grow. The population has moved to cities with denser housing, a lot more restrictions. So ham radio takes up space both inside and outside the dwelling. I was looking up today apartments. 2-bedroom apartment ranges from 800 to 1,100 square feet. How many feet can you dedicate to a radio? You may not have a yard, depending if you're on the first floor or the second floor. And you don't have a lot of room for tools. So you're not going to be able to have the saws and all the interesting equipment necessary to build anything very complex. Condos, kind of the same thing. You might have a little bit bigger area, from 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, and you may or may not have room for a dedicated radio, but you're definitely going to have restrictions on using the common grounds, HOA restrictions, stuff like that. So, in this presentation, what we want to do is we want to set up a problem space. A problem space is how do we get somebody on the air that's in a second floor apartment overlooking a parking lot, and they have a small porch they can sit out on. That's a pretty constrained environment. But if we can address that environment, then I think we can help a lot of people that are moving into small spaces that can rejigger those parameters a little more in their favor. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so we got radios in a box. We got 2 examples of rigid toolboxes and 1 in a Harbor Freight box. I'm going to discuss mine, and I built this only with a jigsaw and a drill, so there's no fancy tools. In August, Greg is going to show his box, which was built with better tools and a lot more skills. I can guarantee a lot more skills. In the future, hopefully we'll have Gary. We'll discuss his Harbor Freight box, which, as you'll see in the pictures, is quite a thing. And so let's go look at it. We'll see what these things look like. Here is Greg's box. And we're going to see this in August. And note, what he's done is he has a control head that he just wraps up and tucks away when he closes up the lid. It's a pretty cool little installation. Gary's is phenomenal. He's got a Harbor Freight box, and it has got everything in it. I think I'll scrounge around to see if the kitchen sink is back there. And here's the things he's put into it, all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty slick looking little box. So we'll be looking forward to your discussion on that, Barry. Okay, here's my box. And my box, it was pictured in the a newsletter, and it's just sitting out in the rain, fully loaded. So that's the confidence I had that this thing is pretty much weatherproof, which means it can be stored on a porch, in a garage, or any place. Okay. Okay, in the audience. It's a person living in a second floor apartment, as I've said, overlooking a parking lot or an HOA-controlled condo. So you need to store the radio and accessories. Oh, it'd be nice to spell accessories correctly. In a closet, on a porch, in a garage. But you're not going to leave it set up. If you're not living by yourself, your roommate or spouse is not going to let you leave things set up when you're not using it. You've got limited or no access to tools, and you need something that's quick to build. So the last thing is the radio itself. Once you're operating, you've got to be able to set it up and tear it down quickly. It's got to be convenient. You can't have something that takes you 20 minutes to set up and 20 minutes to take down. You're just not going to use it. As we all know, when you have your little ham shack and you want to get on the air, you go down, flip a few buttons, and you're up and running. So it's got to be the same for these people. What do we got? Well, I think this thing fits the bill. It's fast to set up. It's self-contained. Has somebody got their microphone on? Somebody's got a microphone on that's doing something. And I've used the bottom of the box on the cart for storage. But this is how fast it is to set this thing up to use it. And you'll notice a plug-in back that I didn't use because, well,
We lost you, Jeff.
I think so, yes. I think your video's working better than mine. Okay. Well, so much for the demo. Okay. Can you see?
Okay.
Did I get thrown completely out of this thing?
No, we can still see your video and we can hear you, but you might have to restart and pull up the slides again.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
John, can you mute your video?
There we go. Who's making all the noise? I wonder if I need to log back in.
I don't know. We can see your screen. PowerPoint presentation has popped up.
Looks like you have 3 versions of PowerPoint up.
I know, but sounds like, but it's like my machine's consumed by some process.
Yeah, you might close the FCC and reopen it.
Yeah.
I would start with.
And Rick Aragon, if you could kill your video, that might help.
So close that slide that says good evening. That's not a slide, that's just a finding the slide thing. Close that one, close the next one. Don't do that.
Close the program.
And we'll stand by here till you restart, Jeff.
Well, while we're waiting for Jeff to restart, want to also mention, so our next meeting will be scheduled for Friday, August 7th. And, you know, if you have any thoughts on our online format, if you have questions, if there's anything we can do to support you as a member or as a new member, you know, if you just need someone to kind of point you in the right direction, you know, again, always feel free to email Jeff at vpres@w7aia.org or myself, Steve, at pres@w7aia.org.
And so Phil, I checked and I had uploaded the bulletin and the proclamation, but I forgot to check the boxes, so I took care of that. So we have 200 more points, primarily due to your efforts, so very appreciated, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you for catching it.
Okay. Am I dead?
No, you're good. I can hear you, but I might have to make you presenter again. Let me see what happens here. I'm making you the presenter, Jeff, so you'll have to accept it when it gets to that point.
Boy, are you optimistic.
Well, that's why we're looking at changing, folks.
I know. I know. Okay. Okay, let's go make this slideshow. Okay. From the beginning. I'll skip my handy dandy video, which I was very proud of. But you can set this thing up in about a minute. And that's what the whole point of the video, little video was. Okay. Anyway, and because of the configuration, you can also flip the thing open and use it like a workable desk. It's a little bit weak, so you need a stick or something to really put under the lid to make it practical. But if you were push comes to shove and you didn't have much space, you could almost make a little tiny desk out of it, which I thought was kind of a cool feature. Okay, well, we can do this. Okay, construction. Okay, all I can say is when I got into here, the urethane I used to coat the shelves took longer to dry than it did to construct it. And I was surprised. And what I used to construct it with is, they don't have a lot of, people wouldn't have a lot of tools. So I drill with a 1/4-inch bit, cheap saw, maybe a cheap jigsaw or other small hand saw. Jigsaw at Home Depot is like $30, but nothing fancy. And you need a straight edge probably to throw the lines to cut on. And you can get a yardstick at Home Depot, which we'll use later on to cut up and use in the project. So nothing fancy. Okay. Now, the piece of wood I used was a 2x4, 3/8-inch white piece of plywood from Home Depot. They have in their project wood section. It used to be birch, and now it seems to be luan. So it's white, and it attracts dirt. So you got to coat it pretty quickly. I used urethane, spray paint, and if you want to keep it clear and not use urethane, I bet Krylon triple thick would work just great. But whatever you do, it's kind of splintery when you cut it. So you need to sand that, and you do need to coat that so it just gets rid of the splinters. The rigid toolbox, radio's in the 22-inch toolbox, and it's sitting on top of the optional mobile gear cart, which can be used for storage. But what can I say about it? It's got a tremendous amount of space. It's portable, storable, and pretty much weatherproof, which means that I can have my radio. If I lived up like on a second floor apartment, I could put it out on the deck, just cover it with a tarp so keep the dirt off of it. I could put it down in the garage and throw a tarp on it to keep the dirt off of it. I'd be good to go. So you also need a good selection of wire ties because everything gets put down with wire ties. You need a yardstick, some masking tape, sandpaper, a few bolts, and I found out a door handle was actually pretty handy for this thing. Pretty self-explanatory. The radio I had got a neat 57. The reason I got that is I already owned it. So I need to get accessory cables and mic cables. It turns out that they don't give you those when they sell you the radio. We got an LG automatic tuner, a little power supply, and some patch cords. I just was really impressed. I was looking for these things, and they seemed to be really expensive. And at JPM Supply down in Houston, they were like $4 a piece. I just wanted to put a plug in for those guys. You need some threaded male-to-male PL251 connectors if you're using patch cords for to do some gender changing, and that's about it. So, how did I get the so you got this toolbox, and I was looking around to do this project. And in January, I started looking around in the web to see what people had done for small installations, and I saw something that was done in a rigid toolbox, and all I saw was the picture. Had no clue at how to do it. The guy just put a picture up there, and I was going to go find the picture for this presentation, and I can't find it. So anyway, well, what's cool about this thing is it's real weatherproof. The box, you can get more boxes, so you can get a couple more smaller storage boxes that stack on top of these things. They all clip together, and they really form a solid whole that you can cart around easily and take apart however you need to take it apart. I looked at the DeWalt toolbox, and I thought that was a little cheaply made, and the latches were kind of a poor quality, kind of looking like they wanted to catch you and catch you if you were, you manhandled them a little bit. The Milwaukee was really great, but way too expensive. So this thing is great. It's rounded edges, nothing catches you, it all flips together, forms a solid column of boxes, and you're good to go with lots of space. Now, construction. Truly, that is me worrying about this construction. When I started this thing in January, I could sit down there and ruminate for hours over how this thing's going to go together, how it's going to do airflow, how things, how the cables were going to go, all these things. And so, how you overthink things, well, it just on and on and on. And you go see the things on the internet, you can't imagine doing something, of that magnitude. So finally I had to go build something. This presentation was coming up and it had to get built. So once I actually started to build it, it turns out that simple, way too complex of a term to use for how this thing goes together. It is really super simple and super fast. The important thing about this whole project is you can't screw it up. And you've got wood, you've got a $9 sheet of plywood. So if you screw that all up, you just find another piece. And if you misdrill a hole in the box, you use little tiny bolts and a couple washers and some silicone, and your box is good as new. So, by the way, does anyone out there know any type of glue that adheres to this plastic? I don't think they make one. It'd be nice if they did. But anyway, so given that, as I started going through this thing, what I did is I prototyped it with cardboard, and then used those, got the sizing right, and then just cut the plywood. Let's see. And this is my prototype. I cut out some cardboard shells, put the components there, and with the 1 meter on the side, on the right-hand side, I wound up not using. But everything is really light. It didn't even bend the cardboard, so I didn't have a weight problem up there, so I didn't need a super strong shell. The radio fit in there. I figured out what kind of fit, figure out how the power supply kind of fit, and lo and behold, what happened is I found that the shelf was square, and I got airflow behind it, so everything was good. So then I moved on, and I cut the shelves. Cutting the shelves was easy. I figured out what sizes they were, and if you're concerned about that, you might want to cut some cardboard shelves to those sizes and make sure they fit. Cut the wood so the factory edge was to the front. It looks great. A little bit of sanding, got rid of the splinters, and then I noticed the top shelf is narrower than the bottom, and so it allows like ½ an inch for air circulation and cables to pass. So one of the big problems, one of the big things I was thinking about, how am I going to get heat out of this thing? Solved. And it turns out that the box is tilted. When you set it up, it tilts up a little bit, so you have a natural convection current set up to get rid of heat. Glued on a couple component backstops, as I was saying, so that when I put the components in, they'd all line up and be neat and tidy. And sanded it and painted it. So this is what it looks like when I got done with that. I had the shelves in. I put the shelf for the lid in, and I knocked it so that it would actually fit. And then I closed the shelves to make sure that the thing would actually close before I loaded all the components on there. And there you go. It's a real simple build. And if you screw any of it up, as I said, just recut the shelf. So, the bottom shelf is where the transceiver was mounted and using its insulation bracket, so it's up off the shelf. It's got a lot of air running around it, so it's not going to overheat. And because it's heavy, I bolted it to the shelf. I wanted to go through the case and do something really fancy, so bolting it to the case and making sure nothing moved. Unfortunately, with my size hands, I couldn't get to the other side of the thing to secure the radio into the bracket, and I couldn't get under it to actually hold the bolt so I could or the nut so I could tighten it down. So the best I could do was just put the bracket on the piece of wood, and then it still needed to swivel a little bit because the FT857, you still got to get in the back of it to, get the little connectors in the back, put your speaker into and things like that. So what you're going to do? The power supply was nice and light, so we got and a couple of heavy-duty wire ties immobilized that. So that was working out. Top shelf, positioned the antenna tuner, marked and drilled the holes for the wire ties. Bolted down the speaker because I'm never going to move it, and I'm ready to go, right? Well, when I positioned and installed the faceplate, I had a surprise. When I closed it, the faceplate whacked into the top shelf. And so what I had two things I could do. Because the faceplate was only held on by a wing nut, I could take the wing nut off, wrap it in a piece of cloth, and stick it on the top shelf, and I'm not using it. But I kind of wanted something that when I opened it up, it was ready to use. So I just kind of, by eye, looked up there and figured out how to whittle out a couple slots so that the thing could fall in, it had some place to go and close. It works for me. Move the speaker back, and I was off to the races. So, and here are the four critical, and I must use that with quotation marks, construction problem areas. You got the top shelf, you got how the faceplate is put on, and you got the bottom shelf. Okay. The top shelf sits on a little plastic bracket that they have in the toolbox, and if it's lightweight, you don't need too much. If it's a little bit heavier weight, you might want to do a little bit more. And what I did is I put a little piece of yardstick in the back to keep the thing from tipping forward when I was pushing the button on the antenna. If you needed something more, you might use a longer piece of yardstick, make it parallel to the shelf, and enclose it and make a slot rather than just leaving it sit on top of the bracket. And if you were going to put something heavier up there, you'd have to put some support in there for keeping the shelf. You'd have to put some support in there. And when you see Greg's project, you will see that he put a lot of support in there and put a lot of weight up there. Okay. And most of the weight sits down on the bottom. The radio and the power supply. The shelf can sit on top of the bracket or below the bracket. On top of the bracket, you need to take some wood and make an enclosed slot so that the thing doesn't move around when you tip it up and carry it around. And if you leave it below the bracket, you can just slide it in and out. But you do lose a place for a magnet. If you keep it on the bracket, there's just that little slot under there that you can put something in. Tried to secure the radio, as I said, through the case. Didn't work. So I filled it in with silicone and called it good. Now, the door shelf. Door shelf, as I said, is secured with a bolt. And the bolt's 1.5 inch, 2 inch bolt that's completely threaded so that I can drill the hole, put the washers in, screw it down tight to the plastic, drill another hole in the plywood, put the plywood face on, which allows me then to have all these little tiny holes underneath the shelf. So I can put little bags of stuff under there that are convenient to get to, and then I just nut it on the hinge that held my faceplate. So what happens then is I took the faceplate that comes with the radio, and it's got a big enough hole for a little bolt. Put a bolt through there, put it on the door hinge, and the door hinge just happened to work. There are many other solutions to this thing, but I just had one of these laying around, and it just happened to work. And so I did that, but you, as I said, you need the cable extensions that Yaesu will gladly sell you. Now, this is it. And when I open it, it's ready for use. Everything flops out. The faceplate flops out, and I'm ready to go. And you'll notice the notches in the top shelf so that the faceplate will just go right back in there. So, as I said, if you don't like it, you can do something different. And now, is it strong enough? I mean, you're looking at this thing, and I can hear people saying, well, this isn't very strong. This won't really work. Well, it does. Everything was enclosed in this box, and the box is on the table. And it fell 3 feet. And it fell 3 feet on an upper corner, so the box actually flipped over. And it broke the lid clasp, which, again, another 1/4 inch bolt fixes things in this box. The faceplate got separated from its holder, and I simply re-clipped it. Other than that, nothing was damaged. Attached the antenna, plugged it in, and I was on the air. And trust me, when I saw the thing drop, I'm sitting there thinking, this is not good. And it turned out to be good. And it also means that if you want to transport this thing on something where there's a lot of vibration, put a couple pieces of foam above the receiver and above the top shelf, and I suspect you could put this thing through a lot of jarring and nothing wouldn't bother anything. It's an incredibly strong box. So let's see what else. Grounding. I can hear things. Well, you can't ground stuff. And it's a big discussion. But we're on the 2nd floor. And there's not a ground rod in sight. You can't use the water pipes any longer because they're PVC. I always wondered why the water in the water pipe can't be used as a ground. And but the best that could be done is to ground the power, ground everything to the power supply, which I did. And note, I did not daisy chain it. I actually used 2 wires and used the home's electrical supply as the ground. That's the best you can do. So, other considerations. You know, if you look at Greg's, he has connectors inside the box. I chose to use 3-foot connectors for the antenna connections instead of trying to do connectors in or on the box. You know, external connectors would either be damaged or ripped out of the plastic. And the plastic is strong until something happens, that, you know, until it gets a tear in it. Then you got a problem. Both internal and external connectors, I'd need a little short patch cord to them or of some sort, which I can't make. I don't have the skills to make that stuff, and I didn't want to buy them. And what I found more pleasing too is have the patch cords and the power cords sweep out one edge of the box so they're visually not in my line of sight. Again, wire management within this thing, somebody could do much better wire management, but I'm always loath to trim manufacturer's wiring. My luck is I trim it, I either trim it wrong, or the next time I need to use something, I need it back to the original length, and it just never works out. And I use wire ties because they're cheap, and they let me remove components and move stuff to other locations and reinstall stuff quickly and easily. And here's the cost. The box cost me about $128, and I put about $873 of electronics in. So, you know, box isn't too bad. They just had a sale on these boxes at Home Depot, so good deal. And all I can say is that's my story, and stick to it. So but it's a nice little project. And let's see, what happened to the video? Oh, here we are. Do I get video? Oh, there I am.
Thanks, Trev.
Wow. So, any questions?
Okay.
Well, I'm frozen in time.
So we can still see your video.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes?
this is Wayne. You know you can save $1 by asking for those free paint stirring sticks instead of the yardsticks.
You know, but either make really good dimensional lumber for something like this. And you know, with the yardstick, you know, if you need 6 inches of wood, it's easy to measure.
Touche.
But I was going to mention the paint stirrers too. The paint stirrers are great. So, well, what do you guys think of my little box?
Amazing.
It works. And after it fell off the table, I was convinced that it actually has longevity. But it's a good thing for somebody inside an apartment. It may not be good for somebody trying to make a to-go box or anything fancy like that. But for the specific application I was looking for, I think it works out pretty well. Any questions?
So your video doesn't play right now?
No.
Can you give that to one of the higher ups and see if they can either email it to us or post it on the site? Because I really want to see it.
Yeah, I sent it over to Gary. Gary should have it. But the little video takes like a minute, and you can put this thing on a shelf, open it up. It takes longer to plug stuff in than it does to get it running. And I thought that was just kind of cool. But then I'm partial. Hi, Gary.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate your presentation. That definitely looks interesting, and kind of like with any individual ham project, I think that the proof is in the pudding, and if it works well for you, it works well.
And the drop test shows it's got longevity.
Yeah. It's probably better than having dropped the radio by itself, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably. But you know, you never do the drop test by yourself on purpose.
On purpose is key. Yep. All right. Well, thanks again.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure that Gary will get that posted kind of at the same location that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, under the general meetings, probably in the YouTube section. I don't know whether that will be edited directly into this presentation, or excuse me, into this meeting, or if it'll be just a separate link. But that's probably what will happen.
But it'll be a good, and next month's with Greg's will be a good juxtaposition. Because his it took longer to build, but it's a much herkier design.
Okay. Well, look forward to that. So I don't believe there's anything else to cover. Again, the next meeting is going to be August 7th, so we do have a general meeting online August 7th. And if we discover anything with our alternative teleconferencing options, we will get that sent out early enough that everyone is able to, if you have to install something or whatever, we'll make sure that there's enough time for that to happen as well. Okay, so with that, I would like to close out the meeting and once again thank everyone. And again, feel free to reach out. I do